Okay, so this is a tutorial on boxes, and I want to be able to just show you some of the reasons why you're going to learn boxes, and explain the box exercise because there are so many pitfalls and tricks to making it work. So one of the reasons why you want to be able to draw boxes is so that if you want to draw, say, a human head, with the skull and everything, you can use a box as a framework. It means that if you can draw this box from any angle, you can draw the human head from pretty much any angle, and you'll see how figures, just basic figure drawing, it breaks down into a box. It's pretty self-explanatory. It is a basic unit of form, and it requires a degree of control. It requires quite a degree of control to be able to draw a box that isn't bent out of shape, that isn't distorted. You have to be able to, in order to finish, to do this exercise, this box turn exercise like this, right? It takes a lot of control. And, if you try to, like, an amateur does something, I heard this before, an amateur does something until he gets it right. A pro does it until he can't get it wrong. So if you just do this until you get it right, and then you stop, and you don't get comfortable, you don't get comfortable doing this stuff, then, you won't have the wherewithal to, to be able to do, this stuff, okay? You can't just do an exercise and then stop. You have to do it until it's no longer a struggle. So now the most important thing, let's just get into this exercise, getting this exercise to work. And one of the most important things that you got to do is you got to be able to see. And that means, we look at this thing, this is like an optical illusion, right? I've made it so that you can see into the canvas. It doesn't look like a flat canvas. That's the most important thing, because if you can't see what you're doing, if you can't sense perspective and depth, you got nowhere to go. So you have to prepare the canvas, for yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to get very far. You'll be like, I don't feel it. I don't know where things go. I don't sense anything. So here, let me just move this camera out of my way, and I'll start over. All right. So the first thing you need is a sense of space, right? You need to sense space because you're essentially taking boxes and you're putting them on a path. And so you're putting them on a path through space. So you need the space first so that you can put a path through the space. Pretty obvious, self-explanatory. Now, let's not even do boxes. Let's just do it as, spheres. And you'll notice that I'm not, going here and then working my way back. I'm just drawing. Right? So you got to be able to make it feel as if, here's one object. It gets further away, further away, further away, further away. Right? So you got to be able to put objects down in space and be able to control their depth, before you even can do this box stuff. All right. Now, the other thing is that you don't just go and draw one box and then draw the next box and the next and the next and the next. It's not like that. You've got to get your path. You got to get your path through space. So, in this case, there's my path. Now, I'm not going to draw individual boxes. I'm drawing cross lines that go across this path in space. Again, I'm controlling the length of these lines to make it feel as if it's getting closer. And now I can start. Maybe what I'll do is there. Now this line is wrong, so I'm going to correct it. Why do I know it's wrong? Because it feels wrong. You got to be able to feel. If you can't sense, you can't see, you can't feel, you are operating blind. So I'm correcting these, as I go. I'm just trying to get a bunch of squares down. So I'd like these to be cubic, more or less. right? And just getting, just getting these box tops to look right is a challenge in of itself. There. Okay? So, this is the kind of feel that you want. You want to be able to feel like things are coming towards you. And you're going to need to be able to handle the stuff that's far away, meaning the stuff down here, and you got to be able to handle stuff that's really, really close up. If you can't do this, you're going to have a fight with foreshortening. You're going to always have characters that are doing this. That's all they will do. They'll always be standing up like that. You're going to have a really tough time dealing with characters that, really reach towards. Right? You won't be able to do that. So, undo all that. Okay. So, first things first, get your box tops, and then it's a matter of putting in posts. And again, the posts you can, there. You try and get that to come up and around. Right, you got to be able to handle the rotation of the boxes. If you can't do the rotation, if you try and draw boxes that never rotate, then the exercise you won't be getting the full benefit of the exercise. One thing about exercises is that they push you through the things that you are not good at. They work the weak muscles. They are going to feel tough. They are going to be unpleasant. And you just have to do it until you get used to it, until it's no longer unpleasant, until it's routine. Okay? But this is how you, get used to handling perspective and be able to do that sort of stuff. So, got to be able to do your box turns like that. Okay. All right, now, the next thing, okay, is being able to handle, well, I'll show you a few more tricks with the path. All right, you'll see that I'm doing this, I'm breaking the line on purpose, right? The reason I'm breaking that line, let me just see if I can start a new blank page. Okay. So, let me just stretch that frame up. Start with a long line like that. And then let me just clear these out. Yeah, actually, yeah, let's shrink that. Turn on a light table. Okay, good. Now I can see. So, turn on my light table. Now you can see all the lines that makes this up. So you'll see that the way that I've broken them up is that long lines are close, short lines are far away. So if I turn off the light table and I flip through this, you get this feeling of things, going away from you. This is why it's important to break up your lines. Otherwise, you don't get, that sense of depth. So let's do the path. Short line, longer, longer. Make it come close. Make it go away. Okay? Then you can start thinking, well, there we are. Okay. So I've gone through and I've turned all of these lines into these kind of little L shapes. And these L shapes are like incomplete boxes. They're not even incomplete boxes. They're like the incomplete top planes of boxes. I'm going to throw that one in there. And as you can see, I'm just, I'm straightening these out. But I think I may have to curve this one. See, so you got to make corrections. Your first line, it's very hard to get them absolutely perfect. Don't get discouraged. Get it 90 to 80% of, 80 to 90% of the way there. There we go. Won't be perfect, but you know, pretty close is good. And if it's not, if you screw up, then just knock it back and try again. You know, just there. So this is, you know, what you need to be able to do is, you know, I use the path. Now I can take these and I can extrude them there. There we go. Okay, and being able to do this box exercise frees you up. It frees you up from having to rely on reference all the time. Like, I won't mean that you know, once you learn how to do this, you won't need any reference, but if you have a piece of photo reference and things aren't exactly perfect, you know, if the model you're drawing is at kind of a weird angle and you want to redraw them, you know, in a more comfortable angle, and if you want to change the camera angle slightly, you got to be able to do this, because this means that you can take a form that doesn't exist. You can create forms from scratch. All right. Now, this isn't, you know, sort of the only way to do the exercise. Like, once you've done this, you know, you can continue adding to it, right? I'm going to just add a few more planes. And I can take any of these boxes and I can split another one up here. So ideally, you would fill up your page with these boxes. You know, you do this for extra credit. But, you know, you get the idea that you can take these boxes and spread them off. And the most important thing when you're doing these box exercises is not just that they're turning, but the boxes must look like linked chains. And I'll explain that in a second. Like, you'll see that I have this flow, right? I've tried to align the edges. Let's just get out of 3D for a second and do things two-dimensionally. When I mean that you have linked chains, and we're just doing little box tops like this. Let's see. Yeah, we're just doing box tops like this. You know, as soon as you turn two boxes, you're going to have an inside corner. I call it the inside corner because there's a curve. This is the inside of the turn, right? This is the inside corner. And so you'll find these are the inner corners, like that. These inner corners got to be linked. You'll see how they link like this. And then if the current curve turns again, you know, the box winds up turning, then this becomes the inside corner. And so you see that these corners are linked, and a gap's allowed to form here. Common mistake with doing these exercises is where I wind up seeing, you know, stuff like this. And, you know, you've got boxes that are colliding with themselves, and it generally does not look very good. Or, you know, the boxes are doing this, and they're just going crazy, and they don't link together. Okay, so you want to link. You want to link your stuff together and get a nice flow, like so. And don't just draw the boxes, you know, doing, you know, don't just do them on one axis, right? This is one axis where I can take the boxes and turn them around and around and around, right? But also, sorry, let me just finish drawing this. Don't just do this one axis. You understand that, you know, we're dealing with a three-dimensional space. So that means that you may have one axis that goes like this. You may have another axis where things come around and do that, right? You may have another axis where they also go around and they go like this. Okay, so you got 3 dimensions to go through and deal with. So, break it up, and don't be afraid to make the, let's see, there's that corner there. I'm linking the corner. Make things twist. There we go. So you just do a few pieces first, and then you extrude them. You got to be careful when you extrude them so that they don't wind up too skewed. There we go. And there's this one. Okay. So, being able to handle different angles, different axes, being able to corkscrew them around and just, move them in any angle, that's an important skill. And also being able to handle them, getting really, really close to the theoretical camera, your own point of view, that's important too. For foreshortening, any of the really, really good actiony, comic book poses, you got to be able to handle foreshortening. So, really important skill. All right. Next thing I'm going to show you. All right, so that's just the basic exercise. And when you're done that exercise, then there's even more. There's more. Like, take for instance, let me just quickly draw one box. And, okay, I want to say one thing that here, this corner is the closest corner. These corners, which are connected to the closest corner, are slightly further away. And the furthest ones are the ones that are not joined by any corner at all. Okay, so knowing this, you can put down your vertices like so. And you can almost see, the rest of this box forming. You can alter the size of the vertices like that. And in so doing, you only draw the facing edges. Facing edges, I'm not drawing any of the stuff that's hidden back here. Okay, so you got to practice doing the box turn, handling only the facing edges. This is the advanced stuff. And eventually you get to the point where you're able to do it without having to draw the initial flow. You can see I can see the rest of the flow. I can see where it's going without having to draw it, but that is not something that you fake. It's just, when you can see it, then you don't have to draw it. But if you can't see it, then draw it. It's, because if you can't see it and you don't draw it, then it doesn't make you suddenly on that level and better. It just means that you can't see it, you didn't draw it, and it winds up being worse. Don't skip steps. So these boxes are special in that I've only drawn the facing edges. And then you thought that was bad, and again, you fill up the page. But anyway, you thought that was bad. Then you get to the point where all you draw are silhouette edges. I'm not even going to draw that one. Let's turn that. And I won't give you too many tips for this one. But this is when you really get to see the box without even, if you can see the box from just drawing vertexes, from drawing, the corners of the box, then you can do this. And you'll see that I do add points so I can see the inside corners, the nearer facing corners. And now I'm drawing these boxes with just the just the outside silhouette edges, and because no one really likes the look of boxes. Well, not a lot of people don't like it. Just I don't know why. Maybe because they think, well, everything has to be a soft form. But I actually like seeing the boxes just because it shows, how accurate you are. So really, it's more of an artist thing. I like to see that, someone's thought things through and got it right. You'll see I'm drawing that, that little inside dot. And the reason I'm drawing is because it is the inside corner, the inside turning corner. And I need this to turn, so there, now I've switched. And yeah, I guess you're going to get a few times where sometimes I'll draw an intruding line, but it's not going to kill you. When in doubt, do draw it. Like, don't. Okay, so this is without any internal lines. This is entirely with silhouette edges. And again, you fill up the page and you deal with them getting close, going far. And then you thought that was the end of it. That's not. There's compounds. So if I take here, let me just draw the whole complete box. And it's like drawing little Tetris shapes. So compound box is just, well, it's multiple boxes all compounded together into a single form. That's a compound box. So compounds, again, you handle the whole turning business. So in this case, this is the real hard stuff. There we go. Now you have to kind of imagine where's this stuff, right? When in doubt, you can draw those lines until you draw guidelines until you don't need the guidelines anymore. And all I can say is, draw a lot. Draw until you don't need the guidelines anymore. That's one of the most important things you can do to get better is draw. You need quantity, not quality, when you're starting out, because you still haven't defined your definition of quality. You're still trying to find. So you need to focus on quantity first. There's one fellow who wrote in who said, he said something like, as soon as you get started, he just, the results were so terrible that he gave up. And, well, that's the problem. You gave up. You'll never get better if you just give up. You have to push yourself through these tough times. If you give up at the first failure, then I don't know. There's not much I can do for you. You just have to push through. You just have to accept the failure, and you have to analyze, well, how did it fail? How did you screw up? What was your mistake? What can you do that makes that mistake go away, or what can you do that allows you to avoid that problem? That's all I can say is, but if you just outright give up and say, it looked terrible, I gave up, then there's nothing I can do for you. Nothing anyone can do for you. There's nothing you can do for you if you give up. So get back in the saddle again and figure out what the hell it was that threw you off in the first place. So these are all right, so now that, I can say, I've shown you all the different iterations of this box exercise. Now here's another thing. When I was talking about flow, right, with this whole 2D flow thing and dealing with an inside corner like that, people are always talking about anatomy. Okay, fine. So here's a modification to the exercise. Don't do them like this. We're going to do things slightly different. It's going to be like this. The more it turns, you see that? I've purposefully moved in a little bit. All right, the more that it turns, the more you move in. And I'll draw a little animation for this. The reason why you want to be able to do this kind of slip inwards, and you'll notice there's a directionality to it. There's the direction, and there's this kind of a slip inwards, where I'm slipping over. Now, okay, let's animate this. Throw in one here. Okay, let's set this one to hold, and just draw one box. Now I'll take this, make a new layer. Okay, and let me slide this over. And let's cut this out. And, I know what to do. I'll just stick the center custom. And then let's rotate it. Okay. So this is what's happening. You got to rotate this around the other box center like that. So this is what happens. All right, so they have to be able to move kind of corner to corner like that. Back here, let me shrink this down. Okay, let's do a bunch more of these. I don't think I even have to animate it now. All right, so. The reason why you got to learn this technique after doing the first one is because this is much more pertinent when you're dealing with the bending of joints. Because that is how joints will bend. There's very distinct, let me link those centers together. Whenever joints bend, they don't bend at these exterior corners. They don't bend here. They bend, if you have two bones, like bones in the finger, for instance, the bones revolve around one another. So if I draw, a finger joint right now, or maybe I'll draw a wrist joint here. Okay, that would be the, that's carpals, metacarpals, now the phalanges. Okay, so those, that might be one form of the hand. But as things turn, then this is what you get. Okay, so these are the rotation points. So this box here rotates around that point there. This box here rotates around this point here. Okay, so that's how it works. So let's get some drawings done. Let's see. So if I have a person who's, let's do a slight amount of foreshortening. This time it's not a cube. This time I'll draw, a box for a torso like this. And I'll take the next one, and you can see that I'm sliding it down just a little bit. And if I need the leg to come forward, then there. Right? What I didn't do is I didn't bend it down at the hinge down there. Right? If I want the other leg to come up a bit, then and there's that. And then as for the knees, I can there. There we go. Now you can see this is why I show that the rotation points are here. That's why it just makes for a better turn. It follows more closely the anatomy. And then now I can just start smoothing these in, smoothing these down. Yeah, you'll have some jutting corners, of course, but then you can get rid of them that way. Some parts are a little too long, so I'll just truncate them. Boxes are a fantastic tool. And sometimes if you're having trouble with the head, then fine, just do the whole thing, as an ovoid. Then you can figure out where is the top plane. Now I can get the underside of the head there. Connect that. Okay, so practice your boxes, and then later you doing human figures is really just it's just an extended box exercise. It's compound boxes, and there's not much else to it. That's why you should learn how to deal with boxes. And the reason you do the compound shape stuff is so that you can do stuff like this, where you essentially have fewer lines because you're operating off of boxes that you can already see. You start to learn which lines must overlap. So if you're thirsting for a more loose style, one that doesn't show as much, that doesn't have as many sketch lines to it, then you need to master the compound box rotations. And now you can get things like foreshortening in there. Okay, but even in this case, I'll show you what I see that I have not drawn. Okay, so this might be, the way that I would sketch, but inside here, there's one box there. There's that right there. There's this edge and that edge And I'll just show you all the divisions now. You know, even if I wanna get into further specifics with anatomy, you see that there's, you know, box edges. And if you really want to learn anatomy, then I suggest you pick up some of Glenn Vilppu's DVDs or some of his reference cards, and then draw them with all of these form lines. You know, you're trying to 3D model the whole thing. You know, draw them and find all of the major form divisions to really learn what's missing. Right, so it's like if I do this, oops, hang on. Just that, you know, just doing that, it's 2 lines. But what I'm, you know, with these undulations, what I'm really suggesting is this. Okay, so there's a lot more. This is what allows me to draw so simply, because I can use, you know, just a couple lines to suggest a lot of stuff that I don't have to draw. So, you know, that's why you should, you know, learn to do the compound stuff. But also, when you study anatomy, yes, do look at the muscle diagrams and break it down into something like this. You know, but if you're having trouble with the box exercise, right, you know, like if you're just your main ability to draw boxes is hampered, you know, because, well, you haven't practiced enough, you're not comfortable with it, you're not competent enough, whatever, you know, then, well, you got your work cut out for you. Okay, so this is what it means to understand anatomy, is you really have to understand the forms, you know, where everything connects, you know, understanding all the planes. Because once you have all of these planes down, then painting it, here, let me just create a new layer. Okay, oh, let's make it mostly, I'll make it even more desaturated and dark. Let me talk to my, okay, I'm gonna have to talk to my computer again. Or maybe I won't have to. Okay, here we are. So, yeah, so I've got the thing in blending, in additive blending mode now. And now I can just follow. Oops, let me turn off the drawing. There we are. Now I can just follow these planes. And you'll see just, you know, how easy it makes my job having those planes. And then I can put in a bit of ambient light occlusion in here. And I'm just going to steal a bit of that background color and just use it to, whoops. Set it to regular color mode. Here we are. Now I'm just bouncing light. So all the more reason for you to do your boxes, because it will make you a better painter.